I believe with all my heart. This is the last word. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Let's bow our heads.
You are so wrong. We all need God. We need to surrender to Him. He paid a price that nobody here will be able to pay a price. He gave His Son. And we have no right to reject that. He's coming back, and He's coming back soon. And if you're not ready, man, open your heart and your mind. There is no time to waste. Your life could just vanish away. Believe me, man. Accept God. Today, you'll have a time to do that. And I just pray that you will. Thank you.
My life to God about a little over a year and a half ago, and most everyone here, my family, and people in the church have heard my testimony, my friends from before I was a Christian, and people on my job that I asked to come here. I've shared with them how my life was before, and I was messed up in drugs, just a bad lifestyle, and I knew that wasn't what God wanted for me. But I didn't come to church just to get cleaned up. It wasn't just a program that cleaned me up. Because most of my family and friends know that I did try clean drugs several times. I went to drug hospitals. I went all these counselors. I always stopped for a little bit. I always went back to the same stuff I was before because I was never set free. But when I gave my life to Jesus Christ, man, I'm not talking about religion, man. Just coming to church. Something supernatural happened to me, man. I got set free from those things. I didn't even want to do them no more. And it's not just about just coming to church and getting cleaned up. I got a promise, man. I'm going to heaven.
Kelly and Esther are going to go take over the church in Kansas City, Missouri. They're leaving Tuesday morning. It's big today. My son and daughter said to God, yea, but I have even went before you. I have prepared a path that is laid down. I have touched you, and I shall bless you, and you shall see a quick blessing. The hands, things that your hands touch, are going to prosper. They're going to be blessed, saith the Lord. For I've called thee with a greater calling that is even in thy heart and in thy mind. I brought you through the trial. I brought you through the test. And yea, I brought you through the struggles. There were other struggles even before thee, saying, God, keep your eyes upon me. Look unto me. Keep the faith. Let your prayers go forth continually unto me in the early hours and the late hours, say God. For I have a path that I will speak, and I will show, and I will guide you, and you shall stand boldly, and you will speak as an oracle of mine, and say, thus saith the Lord. And the people will respond on their knees, with tears in their eyes, saying, I will go with you. You shall surely see a plan unfolded before you, say God. Follow that plan. Stay humble before me. Rebuke the prides of life. Rebuke the prides of man. Fight against that ego that says it is I, for it is God speaking and moving and equipping and doing in thy life. And thou shalt even see greater things happen. I say unto thee, my son and daughter, truly I am with you. My hand is upon thee. What I have spoken to thee today and even in times past is my word, saith God. Believe me, saith the Lord. Believe in my word, saith God, and follow the path that I have laid down for thee. My daughter, thou shalt see a blessing. Thou shalt be a blessing, and words of wisdom will come out of thy life as you touch lives of women. Hold not back, but let my words be used through your lips to speak words of life, saith the Lord. Son, I shall give you revelation of the Word. Thou shalt have understanding of the Bible, of my Word, saith God. You shall be excited over the Word that is in thy heart, is in thy life, saith the Lord. Thank you, Jesus.
You are my chosen. You have found favor in my sight as no one has found favor in the past. I have sent people and angels before you to prepare the path. Know that you have been chosen for this day, for this hour, not for next week and not for last month. But now is the time, my son and my daughter. You are not going as one man and one woman, but as a team for me, for there is number and strength. And both of you together will do a mighty work. And lean not upon other things and other people around you, but lean upon me, for I am the Lord your God, and I will lead you and I will guide you. I have raised the people, and they are waiting for you. They are hungry for what you have. Forget not the things of your past, but use them in the future, my children, and know that I am with you. Forget not one single thing that I brought you through, for they will become a help for you in the future, saith the Lord.
Yes.
My name is Rosie, and I have been here at Praise Chapel since I was 10 years old when the church first started. I can remember meeting back at Pastor Kelly and Pastor Esther's home near Bannister. And though I was only 10 years old, I can remember God moving in the church. The importance of salvation was taught to us, and worship was taught. Worship was shown through our leaders, through our pastors. We were a small group at the time. I still remember that God was moving and we were hungry. Our parents were hungry. I could see that relationship with God was important to our parents. And I could see that God was moving even then with just a small group. And I'm fruit of that. I'm still serving God now, all these years later, because of a small group of people who were hungry for the Spirit of God and for a relationship with God. And I'm so thankful that I get to be a part of a movement like this, to see what God is doing through just a small group of people that's now grown into something bigger.
My name is Connie Barbosa. I've been a part of Praise Chapel, Kansas City since September 11th of 1993. We had a revival out at the Bannister Mall home when Pastors Kelly and Esther lived in Bannister Mall with James, and we would invite people. We'd have amazing worship services. God was touching people and changing lives. I can still see faces now of people that came and served God, and even if it was for a season, God's word does not change. But I want to share that we would outreach, we would go and take flyers, we would talk to people about Jesus, we would pray for people out in the streets. And we had revival services, and God was moving then, and He's still moving now. Praise Chapel, Kansas City has been a blessing to the people that came, and is still a part of my family and still touching my family 20-some years later. And Praise Chapel, Kansas City revival is ongoing.
Hi everybody, my name's Pamela. I walked into Praise Chapel New Year's Eve of 1993. I was 17 years old and pregnant. Matter of fact, my baby was due that night. My boyfriend and I at the time were the only ones that showed up for service, and they did the whole service just for us. And it was through their demonstration of love that I gave my heart to the Lord. What I remember about what God was doing in the church at that time, He was just bringing a core set of people. Connie Barbosa and her husband David and their children were there. Lino and Debbie Garcia and their family were there. We fellowshiped with each other all the time. Kathy Sidebottom and her husband Jeff and all of their family, and we were just building relationships. They were doing whatever it took to help each other serve God, letting people live with them, giving them rides. I experienced our first drama, Homie Don't You Know Me. The church from Dallas came up and partnered with Pastor Kelly just to see lives changed. I was part of the first revival with Pastor Abraham Pedraja. And you just saw these people that were so passionate about doing the will of God, investing into Kansas City to see people come to know the Lord. And I was just very, very blessed to have been a part of all that.
All right, this is Pastor Kelly, and you are looking at KCNW radio station, where we had church for 2 years in the very, very beginning, like probably right at the end of '94. We moved here, and great moves of God happened here. This is where Sean and Lauren came and got saved. So many other people, Steve Carlin, other folks. Right here there used to be a banner up here that said Praise Chapel. You drive in from the street here, up that hill, in the snow. We push our cars up this hill, and come on in here. In here, well, this was all a basement. We put this restroom in here. This used to be a storage area right here, and this was wall-to-wall chairs, stuff for the radio station, and they gave me this little section right here where I do counseling, me and my wife. There was brooms and mops in here, and spent a lot of time in here. I also spent a lot of time in here with Sean Johnston, but that's another story. And then over here we had a little coffee area, just a little thing. It's all dirty. There was a flood here, I guess, a few years back. And then over here, this was a children's room. It was all carpeted before. We had our kids class in here. Everything just great. And then over here was the radio station, the chapel where we ended up having service. Again, there was a flood. It looked a lot nicer. One of the agreements was we put this drop ceiling in, and they let us stay here for 2 years for free. The soundboard used to be here. There was our stage. Give you a little more history over here. This is the birthplace of Hell Night. Hell Night used to be right here with a sheet, a black sheet, and we would put images on the wall with a little lamp with our fingers over it, and I'm burning in hell. That was Hell Night. It was right here. People would come down from the back doors and get judged by God right up here. No videos, no slides, no nothing, just pure raw and so forth. I think that first time we did Hell Night, that night, I think like 34, 35 people got saved that first day we did it, and so forth. And this is where we had church. Many revivals. My first wedding was right here with Sean and Lauren, and had several weddings here, and a lot of memories. And come over here real quick. We had started
before I came down here, we were at the other Seventh-day Adventist church prior to this, and as the story goes, somebody came in with a flyer and asked me to go on his pastor's radio show. This was way over there in Missouri, and we're over here in KCK off Metropolitan. And I kept putting it off, and they finally got me to come do a radio show and share my story, my testimony, how I got saved, and reaching people in the streets. And what ends up happening, they offered me a show called Fired Up with PK. Took place right here. It started off as a 2-hour show. I remember they charged me $50. The show increased to 4 hours. Then it was free. And then it went to 5 hours. It blew up. The radio station's still here. It's under different owners. And now it's different. There's all kinds of employees here and everything. But yeah, I interviewed gospel gangsters, Carmen, DC Talk, man, all kinds of rap artists, rock artists, everybody right here. And pretty much people would call in for prayer, and I take that prayer and try to get them to come to church. But right here, here's where it all started. All right, talking about Hell Night again. There's one thing in Hell Night has never changed over the years. And people always comment about the screams that we have for hell. Those screams were recorded here with about 4 or 5 of us in this room screaming. And there used to be all the recording equipment here. You can see where it used to be. And we're screaming, and we recorded our screams forward and backwards with some reverb on it. And this is where the screams of Hell Night started. And they're still the same screams we use today.
Hi, my name is Lauren Johnston, and when I got saved it was 1995, and I came to the church, and we were in the basement of a radio station, and that is where I got engaged to this guy here. In February 11th of 1996 we got married, and we were the first wedding in the church. And my pastor did not seem nervous when he married us until maybe the very end, where he said, by the power vested in me by the state of California. And of course we were in Kansas City, Kansas. It was
funny.
Yeah. But it was a wonderful wedding.
Yes, it was. The radio station that we're at, we also had a radio show, and it was an awesome tool that at the time we were using to, reach the community. So there was a lot of different aspects of it. My favorite part, of course, was Word Off the Wall, where I got to do comical stuff. And there was me, Steve, and Pastor Kelly, and we played Christian music, and we talked to a lot of Christian bands that came from different places and actually visited, even T-Bone and Frosty. Mm-hmm. But it was definitely a time where there was just a few of us that were reaching out, doing a lot of outreaching in the cold weather.
Oh yeah.
And then there was construction going on in there. We got to put a ceiling in there, and we did our first Hell Night drama in there. And I remember David Barbosa, when he did his graffiti thing, he actually did do graffiti, although it was black paint on, black on black. It was still something that Pastor remembers.
Hi, I'm Shannon. I got saved toward the end of 1999, and it was right around Thanksgiving time. We were still in the State Avenue building, but that's around the time whenever we were getting ready to buy the building that was on Parallel. And everybody was excited. Everybody was buzzing about, hey, we're getting this new building. And there's a lot of vision spoken back then, talking about growing. So the State Avenue building was kind of small, and it was pretty full on a Sunday morning, on Wednesdays. I mean, it was pretty full. But I remember that transition going from, maybe about 80 people, 40 to 80 people on a regular basis to this huge building that was on Parallel. And it was a good time. It was a good time. We all had vision. We're like, oh my gosh, we're going to fill this place up. And then we're going to fill the next place up. But yeah, for me as a new convert, I was just like, man, this is pretty crazy. This is pretty awesome that I get to be a part of something that God is doing, like reaching people, and I could just remember everything was so brand new to me. Like I got filled with the Holy Ghost at the altar there at the State Avenue building. And then once we began to transition, I remember a bunch of guys stayed overnight at the Parallel building. So for about, I don't know, it was probably a few weeks that we were still having church in the State Avenue building, but we would go over there to the other building and we'd work on it a little bit. But man, it was just, I remember those days like, man, it was like the good old days,
My name is Pastor Lewis. I got saved August 17th, 2002 at the 51st and Parallel location of Praise Chapel. One thing that really stands out to me at that time was seeing just a lot of young people that were getting saved, that were radical, they were on fire for God. It really blew me away seeing young people my age that were reading their Bibles and going on outreaches and street preaching and doing those things. I'd never seen anything like it. And that's one of the main things that really got me excited about God, is seeing that there was other young people that could be on fire. You don't have to be an older person to really want to love God and serve God, that you could be a young person and be on fire for God. God was radically moving with the Bible studies. We were doing block parties. People were getting saved in every neighborhood we went to. We did revivals that lasted, weeks on weeks on weeks on end, even to the point where we had a tent out on the side of a highway. And just crazy things were happening and going on. And, I really, truly love my church. I love a church that's just alive, that God is moving through, amen, that it's not just what's going on in the four walls of the church, but what's going on outside of the church. And, and I believe God knew where I needed to be saved at. I needed to be saved in a place where God could move through me, use me, amen, and, the call of God on my life and my family. I just really love my church. I love my pastors, and I'm so glad to be a part of Praise Chapel, Kansas City.